Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed further, I would like to welcome you all on this webinar of ITSA, that is the International Institute of J&K Studies and Analysis. And as you all know, that we are still on the webinars. We tried going offline. हमने एक कार्यक्रम किया था ऑफलाइन भी, पर कोरोना के वापस आ जाने की वजह से हमें वापस ऑफलाइन ऑनलाइन आना पड़ा. और आज उसी ऑनलाइन कड़ी में today we are discussing something about the what's happening in Afghanistan and what are the likely implications to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So for that we have eminent panelists over here today with us, and today we have only two speakers who would be giving out their views. First is Lieutenant General P.S. Mehta. He is a renowned career soldier, career professional soldier who belongs to J&K and who suffered at the hand of militancy and has got a first-hand experience of operating in the J&K state and operating in the valley in insurgency area against the insurgents, and has got a vast experience on that. So आज वो हमें बताएंगे कि अफगानिस्तान में जो कुछ हो रहा है मिलिटरीली उसके हमारे जम्मू एंड कश्मीर पे क्या क्या इम्पैक्ट्स हैं. उसके अलावा आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टुडे टू इंट्रोड्यूस टू यू, and I'm sure all of you are looking forward to it. We have a very, very eminent personality of our nation, Dr. Ved Pratap Vaidik, a journalist par excellence, experience par excellence, and सारी उम्र उन्होंने अपने विचारों की वजह से पूरी दुनिया को प्रभावित किया है. यहाँ तक कि उनकी अपॉइंटमेंट लेने के लिए बड़े बड़े मुल्कों के प्रेसिडेंट्स, प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स को भी वेट करनी पड़ती है. बट आई एम वेरी हैप्पी कि जब मैंने उनको पहली बार कांटेक्ट किया तो वो उन्होंने हमारे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे आने के लिए मान लिया. और ये एक्सपर्ट हैं जो अफगानिस्तान के एज इट इज फर्स्ट है, बिकॉज इनकी जो पीएचडी है वो अफगानिस्तान पे है और इन्होंने कई बार अफगानिस्तान और पाकिस्तान के दौरे किए हैं, वहाँ के लोगों से मिले हैं, वहाँ के शासकों से मिले हैं और वहाँ की सिचुएशन को फर्स्ट हैंड तरीके से देखा है. तो अभी बिफोर वी बिगिन I would request Lieutenant General P.S. Mehta to come out with the present situation over there as of now, and thereafter give us some military implications about all that is happening over there. And then we will have the honor of listening to Dr. Ved Pratap Vaidik. और सर मुझे स्पेशली कुछ आपके जो आपके फैंस हैं उन्होंने मुझे बोला है कि मैं आपको बोलूं अनुभवों के अलावा आप हमें अपने एनेक्डोट्स भी सुनाएं, जो आपके व्यक्तिगत रूप पे आपने जो अच्छी अच्छी चीजें करी है. जैसे एक दो एनेक्डोट्स उन्होंने मुझे सुनाए तो वो अभी मैं नहीं बताऊंगा. आई वुड लाइक कि आप ही सुनाएं, ताकि एंड वी विल रिक्वेस्ट यू टू स्पीक अ लिटिल लॉन्गर देन द 20 minutes आई रिक्वेस्टेड यू अर्लियर. तो आप थोड़ा जरा ज्यादा अब बताएं हमें, कुछ अपने पर्सनल अनुभवों के बारे में भी बताएं. तो अभी हम पहले रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि डॉक्टर लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल P.S. Mehta to please begin the proceeding, and thereafter we'll request you to comment. So General Mehta sir, please.
Well, talking about what is happening in Afghanistan, before I do that, I want to bring out a very important factor and a feature of Afghanistan, and that is the geostrategic location of Afghanistan. After a lot of examination all over the world, it has been realized that the location or the fixation of Afghanistan in the center of the globe, surrounded by the Arab countries and Pakistan on its eastern side, this strategic position has always remained cursed because the world powers want to get into it for various functions, various advantages globe over. To begin with, as you're all aware, in 19th century, the British were very much interested to gain control of the Afghan territory. And this continued, however, with not much of a success. There were a lot of warlords, weaponized people staying in Afghanistan. They were good fighters, Tajiks, Hazaras, and Pashtuns. They took on to invade against the foreign invasion and foreign occupation. They never liked people to come and disturb their peace and harmony. But this carried on and they became stronger and stronger. And in 1979 and up to 1989, that one decade, Russian intervention into Afghanistan gave birth to the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, of course, with the outside support of Pakistan and United States of America, as we all are aware about it. Now, after the de-induction of the Warsaw Pact, I would say erstwhile USSR or Russia, from Afghanistan, came a situation after 26/11, the World Trade Centers in US, which were bombarded by reportedly by the Al-Qaeda people. So the United States decided to get into Afghanistan and teach them a lesson and take control over this entire geostrategic location and eliminate the terrorism from the face of the earth. So the intervention of US started in 2000, and they remained draw. Technically speaking, the NATO forces comprising US and UK are now have started withdrawing. The operational base of America, that is the Bagram post, has been vacated by the American troops without handing over to anybody. And in turn, what has happened, the Taliban all around have saw this as an opportunity. They started rushing into Bagram airport and have seized large number of weapons, equipment, and vehicles left behind by the American forces. So $2 trillion was spent in the last 20 years by US approximately in this operation, and approximately 2,500 US soldiers have reportedly been killed, and more than double, about 5,000 plus are injured and handicapped and gone back to America. However, looking at it militarily or strategically or operationally, the US has withdrawn today without the mission being accomplished. However, there are some positives which they have left behind: a very well-trained and well-equipped Afghan army. They have defeated Al-Qaeda to a large extent. And in the process of removing the Sharia from Afghanistan area, they have managed to get about 2 million girls or women into the education stream. About 2 million women have got educated, went to colleges, universities, and schools. And that was one thing which was very positive for the Afghan society. Now what? When the withdrawal is taking place and there's a sudden vacuum being created, the Taliban, with its associates, especially like Pakistan, are seeing this as a great opportunity. Now it's like a vortex. The air is moving up, leaving a vacuum below. So the neighboring air will come and start filling this vacuum. And that is exactly what is going to happen. And that's exactly what we've got to keep our eyes glued to. Now, Taliban has already started smelling the victory. It's a great opportunity. They have started capturing a lot of US weapons, has also taken over those weapons where they have started fighting with Afghan forces, and certain places of Afghan forces had withdrawn. To summarize and put it today, the situation in terms of Taliban and maybe some Al-Qaeda gets revived and all these warlords has been can be described as a ticking time bomb left behind by the Americans in this vacuum, which is likely to explode very soon. What is going to trigger this explosion will be the geostrategic interest, the geopolitical interest of various people around Afghanistan, as also the interest of Russia, China, especially after the Americans have left. A large number of fighting is taking place. Reportedly, Mr. Ashraf Ghani, was the president of Afghanistan, has reported that he's blamed Pakistan, that around 10,000 Pashtuns or Taliban who were taking refuge in Pakistan, in cities like Karachi, Islamabad, Quetta, Fatah, have all now started getting back into Afghanistan. They've been weaponized and trained by Pakistan Army and ISI. They are getting in, and they have been accused of putting in approximately 10,000 Taliban had already crossed into the Afghan territory. And they have started, there are many actions on. The Afghan defense forces and security forces are fighting the Taliban, and Taliban are ingressing slowly. It is reported that around 150 or 187 districts of Afghanistan have already come under their control. There is a lot of action going on in the Kandahar area also. Reportedly, these Afghanis, the Talibanis, have blocked Iran, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Chinese borders. They want to block the exit and entry routes with a view to that no outside influence can come inside and assist the Afghan government or the Afghan forces. And then they can slowly move toward the bigger cities. At the moment, they have not taken action against the cities like Charar-e-Sharif, Herat, or Kabul. At the moment, those actions, they are still safe, and they are heading towards Kandahar. Kandahar fighting is on, and Afghan Taliban talks are also being maneuvered, are being looked at to be held in Doha shortly. But I can appreciate any talks between and the Taliban and the Afghan government is not likely to succeed or even take off. The reason being, what is the interest of Taliban? In Taliban, under the famous agreement of ISKP, Islamic State of Khorasan Province, with the ISKP use and the United States had a peace process suggested, and that was the violence should stop, the foreign troops should withdraw, and the intra-Afghan peace talks must go on. Now, what has happened? The moment the Americans have left, the violence should stop clause has been actually breached, and the Taliban have started the action. They have started violent action, the fierce fighting going on. Now, what next? Taliban is not interested in peace. Taliban is interested in seeking power, gaining control of Kabul, throwing away the present government. They want Ashraf Ghani to step down, the Sharia laws to come in, and the law of the land, the Sharia laws, to be executed on ground in the society of Afghanis. Meanwhile, while this all is happening, Pakistan's with this GHQ based in Rawalpindi along with ISI is giving full underhand support to the Taliban actions. It is reported that the military advisors of Pakistan from GHQ Rawalpindi are advising the Taliban on the methodology and the destinations of advance. They are telling them in which direction to move, what should be operational timelines in phase 1, phase 2, and in that manner. And Taliban is very successful. And while the cover-up is, the chief of Pakistan Army, General Bajwa, had not even made even a single statement of what is happening. On the other hand, the Prime Minister Imran Khan has denied it outrightly. So this is the kind of mutton chef treatment that Pakistan is looking at. And simultaneously, Pakistan has reported and blamed India that two C-130 Hercules aircrafts have landed in Afghanistan on the pretext of removing our diplomats and other government officials working in Afghanistan, but underhand, around 40 tons of artillery ammunition and other weapon systems have been delivered to Afghanistan by India. So this is the kind of blame game that is going on. Now, what is Taliban attempting to do? Besides moving in and seeking control of districts, rural areas, till such time they start coming and addressing the big cities. Now, they are also looking at improving their international image. Suddenly, Talibans who were rogues, who were living off in the mountains and in the exile in Pakistan, as also in those famous tunnels of Tora Bora, have now started looking at a little bit outside and trying to improve their image in the neighboring countries to gain support. So there is a Samarkand, Kandahar under Taliban attack at the moment. Looting and plunder is reported over there. Afghan security forces and defense forces are trying to block the advance and attempting to retake areas from Taliban. There is a seesaw game which is going on. Kandahar, Parveen, Ghazni, Chukshu districts are under severe fight. Now, let's come to Pakistan. What's the role of Pakistan in all this situation? Pakistan's fears and interests. Pakistan wants to hide and let the whole world not know about their undercover support to the advancing Talibanis. Pakistan GHQ, like I told you, has trained and equipped the Taliban and there are capture plans. As a concept, Pakistan wants the Kabul being occupied by Taliban as soon as possible to overthrow the present government and establish a Taliban-led government in Afghanistan. That is their dream, so that they have an ally. And Pakistan looks at this concept because of their famous desire of having a strategic depth from the hills of Pakistan into Afghanistan, fearing operations from India from the east. Also, from the fear of protection of CPEC, under pressure from China, Chinese people, we all know that about 9 personnel of China were killed shortly on the 14th of this month by the Taliban. Actually, what is happening is the CPEC is passing through the area of Pashtun area and going into Gwadar port, which is an area of Baluchis. So both Baluchis and Pashtunis are claiming that the CPEC and this port is on their territory, on their sovereignty. So they should also draw benefit from them. So unfortunately, this is not happening. But however, Chinese have now started having forays with and meetings with the delegations of Taliban and have made some promises to them that we will invest in your country, in Afghanistan, build up infrastructure like what India is doing. And we will also modernize some of your cities and eventually link them to the CPEC. So this is the kind of carrot China is in link with Pakistan is trying to dangle in front of the Afghan Taliban and the Afghan government. But in heart of hearts, they don't want the present government to be there. They want an allied government in Afghanistan, a Taliban-led government, to be in their friends, a puppet or a friendly government in Kabul. Now let's come to India. Okay, before I come to India, I will sort out issues of China and Russia. Now coming to Russia, since the borders have been blocked with Uzbekistan, especially, Russian troops have moved to Uzbekistan under the pretext of annual exercises. There are a large number of troops on ground, including tanks and artillery. And the basic intention of the Russians is not to allow Islamic insurgency to enter into Central Asian Republic countries, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and the neighboring one. So they have blocked technically the Uzbek border for any such ingress into the Russia. The other interest Russia is showing in Pakistan, it has already signed a project of a gas pipeline to be laid from Lahore to Karachi. This project in itself is about 10 to 15 years of duration, large amount of money being sunk in by Russia, especially. And why is this happening? Why is this swaying away from India? This has probably happened because of our going closer to US. In the similar vein, when Pakistan is going closer to China, it is going away from US. And that is the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle we can call here, or the crescent in the Central Southeast Asian countries, that there is a flex being played by China, Pakistan, India, Russia. It's something like a quad which is swinging. And now with the vacuum being created by US withdrawal, which way this quad goes is what the India has to keep its eyes open and watch all this and to plan the next movement. I'll come to some important, apprehension or appreciations of people or apprehensions of Indian people. Should Indian Army go in, we'll talk about that later. China technically is worried about Gwadar port and the CPEC passing through those areas. It wants the Pakistan Army to give it protection. Pakistan has raised an infantry division, not now, about 8-9 years before. One infantry division has been raised to protect the CPEC passing through Baluchistan and Pashtun area. So I hope I'm not taking too much of time. I can come to the part 2 next.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
All right. Now, a word about Turkey. Turkish president has made a statement a couple of days back that he does not like the concept of Muslim fighting is another Muslim. He's referring to Taliban and the Afghan security forces. He wants them this aggressive note to stop. And he has also suggested, or he has visualized, that if the Taliban come and take over these, most of the districts, there are about reportedly 300 or some districts in Afghanistan, if they take over majority of the land mass as also Kabul, their capital, then how will they assist people or the present government in Kabul? He has come out with a suggestion that he wants to provide security to the Kabul airport by positioning 500 Turkish troops over there, which the Taliban have not liked, because Taliban do not want foreign boots to land into their territory. And so there is a little kashmakash of sorts going on between Turkey and Afghanistan and Taliban. Now, what is India to do all about? This is $1 million question. Now, gentlemen, India is a secular country. It's a combination of multi-linguistic, multicultural, multi-religion society. And we are truly a very secular and open democracy in the world. There is no Islam ko khatra hai in Hindustan, as Pakistan has been blowing a trumpet and trying to conceptualize and put these words in the ears and minds of various Muslim countries, especially Pakistan and other, Afghanistan and other people. Even today, if you look at it, United Arab Emirates is a very successful unilateral country or a multilateral country. And there are a large number of different type of people staying there, happiness. And what does India want? India wants a sound, safe, and a peaceful Afghanistan. Over the last 3 decades, there are a large number of people, students have died. Taliban were students. They've died fighting, the Americans and the Russians. 30 decades, people have lost their children. Families uprooted and destroyed. So who is lost? Somebody was commenting that the American soldiers and officers were fighting in Afghanistan while the children were studying in US. They were getting overseas allowances. So they made the money, they made the awards, they went back happy. No doubt, they also had casualties, which I had already spoken earlier. So India is the template where this method of multi-plethora society system should come into Afghanistan. The Tajik, the Hazara, the Pashtuns, and various other people, like Taliban, they should all live in harmony and look at a very stable and a peaceful geostrategic position right at the confluence of Central Asia and South Asia. Yeah, it is like those Pamir knots, the Himalayas. You have these series of mountains coming from Russians and Central Asian Republic countries southwards, the Himalaya coming from northeast towards southwest, and the Hindu Kush meeting there. It's a Pamir knot, the famous Pamir knot. Mountainous terrain is coming and meeting over there. So in the similar manner, in Pakistan, Afghanistan should become a very peaceful democracy in the world. What the Indians should do, Indian should continue providing a diplomatic and economic strength and support. Although Pakistan is blowing his trumpet at $3 billion worth of aid given directly to Afghanistan has been sunk. They are totally wrong. Nothing has been sunk. In effect, more than that, approximately 10 to 15 billion worth of indirect support has been given by India over last 3 decades to Afghanistan, wherein their children have come and taken educations in India, in the schools, universities. We are training the Afghan army. We are training many other places. We have gone and built so much of infrastructure. Skilled labor has been trained there. So the indirect influx or the investment of India has been a great achievement there. India, we look at ceasefire and electorate ballot coming soon for stability and peace. Now comes the question of intervention of Indian Army or positioning Indian Army. Will it be worthwhile or will it be detrimental for the fear of Taliban and Lashkar-e-Taiba fighting together and their repercussions in Kashmir later on? To my mind, it's high time that to break the barrier or the red lines drawn by the Indian polity and the strategic community, that we cannot step out and draw these kind of storms into our country. But if we have to prove ourselves to be a regional power as also a global power emerging in comparison and to China, we have to break the ice, and we can position Indian boots or the footprint in Pakistan in terms of security forces and defense forces, but in a graduated manner. What I imply is certain formations, brigades and divisions can be put there along with the Air Force, who can get the air support from Tajikistan Air Base and the other air bases Afghanistan has, and provide security to the bigger cities like Mazar-e Sharif, Kandahar, Kabul, Herat. These can be protected by Indian Army only to fight with Taliban or whoever comes there right there and then, and not to go for forays initially to destroy Taliban. That is the phase 1 which we can think of. And in the phase 2, if the situation so demands, we can go in for operations. I know this issue was discussed while I was in uniform, in Delhi, especially in the military operation directorate, this issue had come up. At that time, the thought process was we should not get into such kind of a foray outside. But I am specifically mentioning this to prove ourselves and to get out into a regional power mode. India has to start looking at the region around its neighboring countries physically. I am glad to say the Indian Navy and Indian Air Force is also heading in this direction. Tactically or operationally, if the Pakistan does not behave itself and starts pushing Taliban in and creates a big situation, India can create problems for Pakistan as well. And how can we do that? We can abrogate the ceasefire this time. We can activate the line of control and create a huge problem for Pakistan so that the famous two borders get opened up for Pakistan too, the Afghan border and the Indian border. And we can create pressure in Pakistani's mind and noses. However, Delhi looks at a peace process in Afghanistan that would be Afghanistan-led, Afghanistan-owned, and Afghanistan-controlled. India supports the people and government of Pakistan, Afghanistan. Indian envoys have reportedly met Taliban leaders and delegations to harbor peace, brocade peace. And this is a good diplomatic initiative that is going on. We should look at forays with Taliban and Afghan government and other communities there to bring about peace and harmony, stability, and stop this warfare. If it doesn't stop, I've already told you that we have many options available. Also, secondly, on a diplomatic front, we need to revive the 2011 Defense and Security Agreement, which was signed between India and Afghanistan to provide defense, security, and other aids to them. We should revive that and be prepared for doing the worst or the best. China, we should make China recognize one major factor, that Gilgit and Baltistan belong to India, Jammu and Kashmir state. And they should recognize that as our own territory, as Indian territory. Americans are already ready to help us in this regard. And with that, we should promise to China that we will look after the CPEC passing through Gilgit, Baltistan, as also in the Exchequer area. We will tolerate their CPEC going through that, provided they recognize this thing diplomatically and strategically or geostrategically around the world, that it is ours. And if they recognize, it will bring China and India together, and we will give all the kind of support they require. So much for my first session. I think I'll stop here and wait for the other speakers and questions to emerge. Thank you very much.
Please like and subscribe.